Thank you, David, and thank you all for having us here today. This is so important that we get the issues of the day out in front of the public so that we can create true change in Arizona, and boy, do we need it. I want to let you know 3 things about me. Number 1, I'm a dad. I've got 2 daughters who went through Arizona public schools. My parents were both public school teachers, so education is key to who I am and what I try to do in the legislature. I also run my own business. I'm a public artist and graphic designer. I use both hemispheres of my brain to be able to solve problems creatively, and I think that's what we need with the messes we have to clean up that's left for us by this governor and this legislative majority. I also served in the state legislature for the last 12 years. I'm the only Democrat who has served in any elected office who is running for governor. I'm also the only Democrat running for governor who has ever won a campaign, and I've won 6 in a row. It's important to be able to have the experience in policy, processes, and people to be able to govern from day one. I've been the ranking member of the Senate Finance Committee my entire time in the Senate. I was a ranking member of the House Ways and Means Committee. I'm on the Joint Legislative Budget Committee and on the Appropriations Committee. I know our budget and our finances inside out, and one of the key reasons I'm running is to reform our tax structure, to be able to make it more fair, and to allow ourselves to be able to invest in Arizonans instead of simply giving away money to out-of-state corporations in unaccountable tax cuts that have done nothing for our economy. We must invest in ourselves. So I'm going to be working on increasing our education funding while lowering sales taxes. That's one of the key points of what I'm doing. I believe that we need to get health care for everyone that is accessible and affordable in the state. And we need to have an economy that works for everyone, not just a few people at the top. I'd be honored to earn your vote. Thank you.
Next is Kelly Fryer.
I'm Kelly Fryer, and I'm working really hard to become your next governor. I'm running for governor because Arizona should work for everyone. Right now it's not. I think it can, and I can help make that happen. I spent the last 29 years in my career in senior leadership and CEO positions. I got my start as a pastor, walking into congregations that were in trouble and helping people come together around a set of shared values and a vision to reach out to its community and do what matters. I got kind of well known, actually, in my little universe for being able to do that. It was unusual back in those days to even have women pastors, much less women who were, I was going to say kicking butt and taking names. And wrote a bunch of books. I was recruited to start a leadership program at the largest mainline seminary in the country. I started my own consulting business, and for a number of years I helped organizations and leaders across the United States and Canada learn how to do the same thing. In 2012, I ran an organization called Arizona List, which works to elect women state and local office here in Arizona. And since 2013, I've been the CEO of the YWCA in Southern Arizona. Not the swimming pool YMCA, the YWCA. We're part of the oldest civil rights and social justice organization in the country. I've learned along the way of growing, transforming, leading organizations that the way that you begin is from a place of clear guiding principles or values. I'm going to bring 3 to my job as governor. Number 1, people come first. Number 2, everybody wins. I reject that this is a zero-sum game. And number 3, we're going to look for the boldest solutions possible to the challenges that we face. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm David Garcia, and I'm running to be governor of my home state. And it also feels great to be here. I'm a professor at ASU. It's nice to be in the classroom, and I'm ready to launch into a statistics lecture if you guys want to stick with me for a little while. Michael, you've heard this lecture before, I know. Look, I'm running, folks, because I am Arizona's story. I was born and raised in Arizona. I'm a 4th generation Arizonan. I'm a product of Arizona's public schools. I'm the first in my family to go to college. And I mention that because that is like so many of our young people who are trying to do the same thing through education. My path was through the military. I joined the Army when I was 17. I was an infantryman, and I learned duty and discipline and accountability. Came home again, went to Arizona State undergrad, and then had the privilege of getting a doctorate at the University of Chicago. Now I'm a teacher. I teach teachers at ASU, and it is a major reason I'm running. I'm running, folks, to build the state that built me. A few weeks ago, the three of us got in front of the Arizona Republic for an endorsement. And I came away with that endorsement for a couple of reasons that I think are important. Number one, there's nobody better qualified and prepared to take on education and the issues facing our state than me. I have been in education policy for 20 plus years. I have the experience to understand the direction we need to go and ready to listen and stand by our teachers. But second, I'm also the campaign that can bring out turnout. At the end of the day, this is a political contest, and we've got to get the votes to win. And our campaign is prepared to do that. Getting out and expanding the Democratic base to bring new people in so that the ideas that you hear tonight can become reality when we win and we're down at the Capitol. The big news about our campaign today is that the Republican Governors Association just put $8 million into an independent expenditure against us. It's because they recognize we are the campaign that DC does not want to face in November. Thank you.
All right, first question. The Arizona legislature has cut taxes every year but one since 1990. When adjusted for inflation, these tax cuts have reduced revenue to the state general fund by $4.4 billion annually. If you were elected governor, what would be your approach to taxes to ensure that Arizona has sufficient revenue to fund your priorities? We'll begin with Mr. Farley.
Well, thank you. This is one of the things that I'm showcasing in my campaign. In my time serving in the Finance Committee, on the House Ways and Means Committee, on the budget committees, I know that we have $10 billion approximately we spend every year on our budget, on everything. We also give away $13.7 million a year in corporate sales tax loopholes alone. Those are things like if you go out and buy a 3-inch pipe at the hardware store, you pay sales tax. If you buy a 4-inch pipe, you don't. That only makes sense if you're a corporation, buys a lot of 4-inch pipe in Arizona, and you want to give yourself a break. So happens there is one. It's called Southwest Gas. You may be familiar with it. They're based in Nevada. Every month we send some of our money to Nevada. They take some of their money, they hire a lobbyist, they get themselves breaks. There are 330 other corporate sales tax loopholes just like that in our sales tax code. $13.7 billion, and that's a floor of what we're giving away. We may be giving away more because a large percentage of those, we don't know how much we're losing. If we were able to eliminate just $3 billion out of that $13.7 billion, we could lower our sales tax rate by a full percent, making our entire tax code less regressive, while increasing education spending on $2 billion a year. And that's enough not just for 20% teacher raises, it's enough for 20% educator raises, all-day K, pre-K, our 4th year of JTED career and technical education programs. Remember, JTED was cut by Doug Ducey and killed his first year in office. It's enough to be able to restore our funding for community colleges, which has been zeroed out in Pima and Maricopa County, and enough to restore those $2.5 billion over time of cuts to our university system. And we can actually do it in a bipartisan way. I've been able to prove the ability to reach across the aisle and get that done, even with people on the Tea Party and the Republican Party. We can get this stuff done by working together with the experience I've shown to be able to finally get a more fair tax structure and move ahead.
I'm going to assume that was applause for me. Look, the first thing that we need to do, I think, is to regain the trust and keep faith with voters in Arizona. Because what's happened is that they keep raising our taxes in a variety of ways. Property taxes, sales taxes. We see that all those dollars get put in the bucket that goes to do the things that are important to us. And then Doug Ducey, his predecessors, the cabal that is running the Arizona state legislature right now, pokes holes in the bottom of the bucket by giving tax breaks to wealthy people and big corporations. So the first thing that we have to do is to keep faith with Arizona voters. And we have to prove to them that we're using the money that they've put into the state budget in a way that represents our values. Secondly, we need to look at all those tax cuts over the last 4 decades that have benefited the wealthy folks in Arizona and big companies, and we need to start reversing those tax cuts. I think we start with the Invest in Ed ballot initiative. I was Invest in Ed before there was an Invest in Ed. In fact, if you go to my website, friarforarizona.com, you'll see a very detailed list of the tax cuts that I believe we need to reverse. We need to create 2 new income tax brackets for the wealthiest folks in our state. That just reverses the tax cuts that they got back in the 70s. We need to reverse the capital gains tax cut that was created in 2012, that overnight drained $500 million out of our state budget. But we can't really do any of these things until we reverse Prop 108, which was the law that said you have to have a 2/3 majority to cut taxes, to raise taxes, but only 50% to cut them. That's going to take your work. The teachers out there that gathered all those signatures, we've got more work to do.
Here's a roadmap to getting to the kind of revenue we need to invest in our public schools and to invest in our public services again. And it's 3 parts. Number 1, it begins with Invest in Ed. I have been behind Red for Ed and now Invest in Ed from the very, very beginning. Not only that, our team was out sweating with our teachers, collecting signatures to help get it on the ballot. I'm very proud of our teachers for stepping up and taking this issue into their hands, into their own hands, and I look forward to continuing to support them. That is number 1, so that we can move toward a tax system in Arizona that is more balanced. But second, we have got to peel back tax credits in Arizona as well, beginning with private school vouchers, folks, the universal expansion of private school vouchers. We are that low at the bottom in public school funding. And we are not taking this problem seriously as long as we allow public money to exit and go to private schools. I jumped into this race after Doug Ducey signed the voucher bill. And I jumped in because my fight has always been for public education. And I knew then that the fight was now at the 9th floor. And that the fight that I have long been in for public education now meant we had to take it to the governor's office. The third step, what you've heard up here as well, is we do need to close corporate sales tax loopholes. But let's take a second and remember how they got there in the first place. They get there from lobbyists giving money to legislators to get elected. And then they come back and they get what they're looking for from their clients. The only way to close them meaningfully is to make it clear that we're not going to take money from lobbyists. And I want you to understand, our campaign is taking 0 money from lobbyists so that we can close those loopholes, so that when I count down the elevator on the 9th floor, I can pass by all of those dark suits that are waiting there, all those lobbyists, and come out and serve the people of Arizona. Thank you.
Some areas of Arizona's economy are doing well. There are many parts of the state, particularly in rural areas, that are struggling. In some counties in Arizona, more than 40% of the children are living in poverty. Median family income is lower than it was a decade ago, and unemployment is above the national average. As governor, what strategies would you pursue to bring about more jobs and economic growth to Arizona's rural communities? We'll start with Kelly.
I am running this campaign because I felt like there were just too many voices across our state that were not being heard. My very first stop when I began campaigning was in Sells on the Tohono Reservation. And I've spent the last 6 months traveling to small towns, rural communities, and underserved neighborhoods all around this state. This is why I'm in this race. The first thing I'm going to do to move my 15-county economic development strategy forward is to work with the Arizona Commerce Authority to begin shifting the hundreds of millions of dollars that we spend every year giving tax breaks and actual cash handouts to companies from out of state that come here and open up parts of their business. They're not headquartered here, they don't really care about Arizona, and most of them are creating low-wage jobs. So we're going to shift those dollars into locally owned businesses here in Arizona, those who are headquartered here, small businesses, and businesses here that are paying a living wage. Secondly, I think one of the best opportunities that we have before us are the brand new opportunity zones that have been created by the Trump administration. Now, I know that's a dirty word in Democratic circles, and I'm suspicious of it. Because I think that probably what's going to happen in Arizona, if we don't change our leadership, is that those opportunity zones are going to lead to millions and billions of dollars going into the same fat cats that have been benefiting from all these tax cuts and tax credits over the last 40 decades. We need to be coming alongside of local municipalities and creating opportunity zone opportunities for locally owned small businesses and people, the people who actually live in those rural communities and small towns all around Arizona. Thank you.
Yeah, I said I was from Arizona, born and raised. And in my working class neighborhood, basically you get one Disneyland vacation in your life. You get a chance to go away and go to Disneyland once, but the rest of my time growing up was spent in rural Arizona. All around rural Arizona, hiking and hunting and fishing. And so I've seen our rural communities for decades now. I've seen them change, I've seen them boom, I've seen them bust. And I have a good idea, having been there, what it feels like to live in a rural community. I mean, so many friends and so much time there. And so there's a few things we need to focus on. First and foremost is education, particularly the community colleges. The community college system, by the way, is where most of our students begin their higher education journey. It is also a place where we can invest money into economic development and jobs and change economies in rural Arizona and at the local level. It is investing in career, technical education, trade, high-tech manufacturing, solar, healthcare, for example, in local communities that can build brand new economies. Take a look at what's going on up in Yavapai and Yavapai College and the wine industry that started really with the beginning of Yavapai College starting a program there. It is also making sure rural Arizona can participate in today's economy. That means access to broadband internet, so that the exciting things that are happening in rural Arizona can be communicated out to the rest of the world. I was driving through Shanto, Arizona, stopped in a gas station, and there was some amazing arts and crafts there that nobody would know about unless they were driving through Shanto, and I think broadband is important. And third is connecting with local communities so that we can come up with ideas to reimagine their economies. There are organizations doing this, like Local First, for example, that we can look to for ideas and further those conversations with rural Arizona so that what we come up with together and makes the most sense for them. Thank you.
This is one of those areas I think that I'm excited about because there's an opportunity of working in a bipartisan way to help create solutions to some of these problems. Over the last year and a half, as I've been constantly traveling throughout the state, I'm discovering that, especially in rural areas, even Republicans understand that their district school, their public district school, is the heart of their community. And they're furious at the cuts that have happened to their public district school on the hands of this governor and this legislature. Reinvesting in our education system in our rural areas has a strong bipartisan appeal that everybody's looking for. Now, we also need to invest in infrastructure. That's one of the things that creates jobs in the construction of it and jobs in the ongoing increasing ability for people to be able to get their products to market, get to work, and be able to have access to the wider world. That means broadband infrastructure in tribal nations and rural areas across this state. That means being able to build roads and not divert our HERF money, our gas tax money, to things that are not related to road building. One of the things that I've been fighting against in my 12 years in the legislature is this HERF shift, which takes our gas tax money and sends tens of millions of dollars away to other purposes than actually fixing our roads. Every time you spend $1 billion on transportation infrastructure, you create 19,000 new jobs. And that HERF shift has really created a whole bunch of hurt in rural areas. In County County, the transportation director told me a couple of years ago that their resurfacing cycle is 67 years. By the time they get around to the road, there isn't a road left to resurface. That's hurting our local economies significantly. Talk to anyone in these rural areas. I'm proud to say that I worked in a bipartisan way with Senator Bob Worsley last session to actually end the HERF shift starting next year. And we'll finally be able to get our infrastructure invested in rural areas and across this state.
In an Alliance Bank 2017 survey of more than 500 of Arizona's top business leaders, those leaders identified the lack of a quality skilled workforce and an underfunded public education system as the top 2 challenges to doing business in Arizona. We will be discussing K-12 public education funding and other questions. For purposes of this question, please discuss what strategies you would pursue to enable Arizonans to increase their education and job skills after high school. We'll start with David Garcia.
Sure, yeah. If you look at other western states, including Arizona, there's a boom going on in the western United States. And I know there's a lot of growth going on in Arizona, but compared to our other western neighbors, we are not seeing the same growth as many of our other western states. We're behind every single one of them with the exception of New Mexico. And one of the reasons why is because of a lack of investment in workforce and education. And I know we say this over and over again, that we need to invest in it, but if you look at the priorities of the state, it is still about bringing in new people and building new housing rather than focusing on investing in the people of Arizona. And so with respect to after high school, first and foremost, I said it and I will say it again, we need to invest in community colleges. The state has zeroed out money to community colleges, and community colleges are where most of our students begin their higher education journey. It's a way of bringing higher education costs down. It's a way of investing in high-tech jobs, in solar, in health fields, and in manufacturing, and I think that's important. Also, it's a great place to retrain and retool. Look, as the economy shifts, community colleges continue to be that place, particularly in rural Arizona, where people can gather new skills. I'm thinking of Navajo Nation, for example, as we move from a fossil fuel industry to a solar industry. The community colleges can be central to that shift to retrain and re-educate that workforce. It is also about investing in higher education as well. But there's a direct connection between innovation, growth, and economic growth. And that connection is through education. Take a look at when exciting high-tech jobs come to Arizona, and they are almost always tied to the university somehow, because it is our human capital that we need to invest in the most. And so we're a state that has taken so much away from higher education. I believe our economic path forward is investing back in higher education for the people of Arizona. Thank you.
My first job was as a typesetter. And there are a lot of people you're below a certain age where I'm going to have to explain to you what that is. I used to have a very important job. Everything that was printed required the skills of being able to sit behind a big machine. I was a phototypesetter, so I had a little strip of film that had all the fonts were on. Fonts didn't used to come from a full down. I had a lot of very useful skills at one point. Those are not useful skills anymore. This has happened in a lot of industries. And we're seeing that change happen everywhere. We're seeing globalization and automation change and eliminate entire industries mid-career. That's causing a lot of problems for folks. Imagine you're 50 years old and all of a sudden, all of those skills you could spend your lifetime learning are gone. You've got to find somewhere to train and retrain to be able to learn the new skills of the future. So we have to have our community colleges as a platform for lifetime training and retraining, and not gut them from state funding, the way that we have in this legislature from the Pima County and Maricopa County. We've got to reinvest in them and revitalize them and come up with a public-private partnership to allow that training. And we've got to strengthen our JTED programs. Remember, Doug Ducey's first budget out of the box killed our JTED programs. A $30 million cut. Devastated them. Our JTED programs not only give job skills to people right out of high school, they get you ready for college, better prepared. And these particular skills also get kids more engaged in high school. We have a 78% graduation rate in this state. A kid that takes one JTED program in their career in high school, that changes to 98% graduation rate. It's phenomenally successful. And that's why after Doug Ducey killed it, I worked with the business community, with Republicans in the off session. We forced him with a 90-0 legislative vote to restore it. He said only $28 million, and then and he did it, but then he bragged about being the governor that invested $28 million in jail.
In Yuma, there are 5 or 6 aerospace companies, and they're thinking about picking up and leaving. We've got the longest runway in the country in Yuma. But they're thinking about picking up and leaving because they don't have the trained workforce that they need. We all agree that we need to have more educational opportunities and workforce training and career tech training for people in Arizona. The question is, how do we move beyond just all these nice words to actually get it done? What's the plan? I'm going to do 3 things. Number 1, I'm going to get our labor unions, our trade unions, to sit down with our community colleges and to create training programs. Remember back in the day, some of you were at least my age, when trade unions used to provide that kind of training? Labor unions are being strangled in Arizona. This is going to be one way to increase their visibility and influence in the state and provide good trainings in the trades. Secondly, we need more revenue in our state budget. It makes me very nervous when my opponent says that we can invest in education and cut taxes. That's what we've been told for the last 4 years, and it's just not true. We need Prop 108 reversed. We need to untie the hands of our state legislators so that we can create the revenue that we need to invest in these programs. And third, I'm going to work with the Arizona Commerce Authority, back to those opportunity funds. That's where the money is. It's money that is literally falling out of the sky to states all across this country. But it's about to be sucked up by big companies and big developers and big investors. We need to direct those funds into communities where we can create training programs, create jobs for people in our state. That's how we do it.
Arizona is in the top 5 states with the highest incarceration rates and a 50% recidivism rate. This rise in incarceration rates has not affected all communities equally. Blacks and Latinos represent a disproportionate amount of prisoners. With over 20,000 individuals leaving Arizona prisons each year and joining the workforce, research has proven that access to career and technical services and substance abuse treatment programs while incarcerated is imperative to an offender successfully rejoining society with new skills. As governor, what would you do to reduce recidivism rates and better prepare these individuals to join the workforce? And we'll begin with Steve Hart.
This is an actual easy solution that has suffered from poor leadership. The fact is that out of those 20,000 prisoners released every year from state prison, the Department of Corrections itself estimates that 70% have an active substance abuse problem when they are released. And yet we only treat approximately 900 every year in a program that has been proven over the last 5 years to cut recidivism in half. Why on earth wouldn't you treat every prisoner released every year? It costs less money than incarceration. And if we did that, that would be approximately 7,000 fewer crimes, 7,000 fewer victims, 7,000 fewer people we pay for to reincarcerate, and 7,000 more people contributing to the economy and society instead of being warehoused. Well, I think the key is we have private prison contracts as a state which guarantee 100% occupancy. Private prisons are a moral, ethical, and economic disaster, and they will end when government. This is an easy solution. All it takes is leadership. But our current corrections director, Chuck Ryan, was better known as the guy who designed Abu Ghraib prison. He's not interested in corrections. He's interested in punishment. That's not who I will appoint as my corrections director. We're going to be able to focus on actually reintegration in society, reducing the number of people in prisons, And as soon as we treat for substance abuse treatment for everyone who's released from prison, we'll have fewer people in prison, and we won't even have to have any private prisons. That's exactly where we need to go. We have the proven track record of making it happen, and that's where we'll go as government.